Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Podcast, the podcast with 4 different flavors coming from 4 different gamers. I am your host, Nick Irwin, and I want to welcome my co-hosts, Shane Eisterhold, Patrick Smith, and Russell Rowe. Hey, Patrick, where can they find us?
Well, the first place you should check out is our website at ittastes.different.com. This is the place where you can subscribe to all of our streams and connect to all of our social media sites. You can also find us on Facebook at It Tastes Different. We're also on Instagram at It Tastes Different PC. And then last but not least is Twitter, where you can find us at It Tastes Diff.
Tonight we head to the kitchen for a midnight snack, a PB&J with no jelly, and to discuss the latest Xbox news and the lack of PlayStation news. Shane, why don't you start us off with some details?
All right. Well, earlier this week, Microsoft finally just gave up and gave in with all the rumors about the Series S model, which is going to be a smaller, less powerful console than the previously revealed X, coming in at $299 though. So that is going to be a really nice price. And Microsoft also confirmed the $499 for the Series X. That is for the one that's already been announced. So the two differences between these are primarily just the power and graphical fidelity. Pat, you want to tell them about the differences between the two?
Sure thing. So basically, yeah, there's obviously obvious hardware spec differences between them, especially when you consider a $300 console versus a $500 console. There better be something bang for your buck. So really, yeah, you don't get a whole lot in the aspect of CPU. You know, the expensive Series X will have the AMD Zen 2 8-core 3.8 gigahertz processor, and then the cheaper Series X will come with the same thing, a Zen 2 8-core 3.6 gigahertz. So just 0.2 hertz cycles slower than the Series X. So obviously there's not a big difference there, probably not a noticeable difference. The noticeable difference is going to come into the GPU because they both are running a custom RDNA processor, the RDNA 2 for their GPUs. One of them, the Series X, is going to have the 12.5 teraflops, and the other one's going to be a 4 teraflop processor. So there's a huge difference in the amount of GPU power you have there. So there's a big difference in the GPU. The memory is also a big difference. You're going to have 16 gigabytes of the GDDR6 with the Series X. So you'll have 16 gigabytes of that and only 10 on the Series S. So big difference there. Also, your memory bandwidth, you're going to have 10 gigabits of the 560, 10 gigabits at 560 gigahertz, I should say, on the Series X, where you're only getting 8. So only a slight difference there. So, you know, there's just a little bit difference. But the big difference is going to be in your GPU and also your internal storage. You're basically getting 512 gigabyte with the Series S, which it's also, from what I understand, it's a slower PCIe Gen 4. But I haven't seen anything that basically states for sure that that's what you're getting. I know that it's going to be 512, and then the Series X is going to be 1 terabyte. So basically, you know, you're going to get solid state drives in both, and not this hybrid that we have now, just 1 terabyte versus half a terabyte. Everything else is really close to the same. No physical media player in the Series S versus a physical media player in the Series X. And then your output resolution is going to be lower. Obviously, with the lower power GPU, they're not going to be doing 4K. You're going to be doing a 1440p on that Series S. So, you know, obviously you're getting a lower end quality machine for $300. Basically, with the upgraded components, it makes it, in my opinion, really close above the Xbox One X, the current high-end console. I mean, the current high-end console has 8-core 2.3 gigahertz custom AMD, whereas the Series S has an 8-core 3.6 gigahertz. So as you can see, more hertz cycles on that one. And then your GPU on an Xbox One X is 6 teraflops at 1172 megahertz. So as you can see there, the difference in the GPU is pretty significant there too. We're still a little higher on the teraflops, but it's newer technology, and it's a little bit, you know, and it's also a higher hertz range on the newer GPU. You know, we have 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 in the Xbox One X versus 10 gigabytes of GDDR6 in the Series S. So the Xbox One X that's currently out will do up to 4K. So I don't know how they're getting away with this lower end model that's only going to do 1440p, but you know, it's on par in my opinion with the current Xbox One X. I would not downtrade for it. I'm going to go for the Series X. Nick, what do you think about those specs?
I'm the same way. I'm going to go for the X and not the S. But the S is a good model if you're wanting something that doesn't do 4K. If you don't have a TV or a monitor that can produce 4K visuals, that's a good way to go for it. And for the price of $300, that's an excellent price for that. I think what you really have going for this new Xbox Series X model, or S model, sorry, is the CPU. The old Xbox One X and Xbox One S is using the old Jaguar cores, which is an old processor. And now you got these newer devices using the Navi chipset, which is a much faster CPU. So I think that's going to really play into the next gen of these games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're basically you're actually adding quite a bit of cycles between the Series X or the Xbox One X and the new series, no matter which one. It's much higher CPU hertz range, so you're going to get a lot more out of it. And they're all 8-core processors, but as you said, new technology, new architecture, all of that. Definitely, I'm going to be going with the Series X myself. I'm not buying the Series S, but I bought an Xbox One X, so I'm assuming most people who bought an Xbox One X that are going to buy a new Xbox are going for the Series X and not the Series S. What are you guys getting, Shane?
Oh, that's completely easy answer. I'm getting the X. The Series S would be great if I wasn't like you to a point on a graphics snob. If I had the regular Xbox One or just the One S, which I have both, but I've upgraded to the X, at launch, and I want to continue that trend of better, not basically trading out for the same. It's going to be a lot faster, and that would be great to have like in a bedroom or whatnot, but definitely got to go with the X, in my opinion. What about you, Russ?
For me, I did not do the mid-series upgrade. I stayed with the original this last trip, so I will definitely be going for the much more powerful unit here. Definitely not a chance of me getting the S, that's for sure. I am excited about that because I actually have seen the graphics difference just in mine in Patrick's device, and so I'm kind of excited to see what that next gen does. So it's absolutely a no-brainer for me in getting the new Xbox. So definitely not getting the S.
Right. Yeah, I see the S. The S is at an affordable price point for me. That when Microsoft and the game publishers decide that they're no longer going to want to make the games for the Xbox One, that I will buy the Series S, for like my child. Because she's got an Xbox One right now because she's got my hand-me-down. I got me an Xbox One X, and I'm like, here, have my Xbox One. So when they stop making games for that and she's ready for some of the games that are on the newer ones, I will definitely buy her own. Unless Microsoft comes out with something new, she'll get her own new Series S. That way that I can keep the higher-end one. But if Xbox decides to come out with their Series X or Series Triple X in 2 or 3 years when they stop making the games for the One, she's going to get her own new console because as a price point of $300, it's definitely within easy arm's reach of for me to buy for another console for anybody to play with. Even at $500 for the new one, it's still within arm's reach for me and not too far out there. I was a little worried, I'll be honest, that I thought they were going to go the $600 or the $700 route, but they stayed at the $500 range, which is what I got my Xbox One X for. So price point's on point. Plus, the hardware is all great and everything. But the other thing that I have to point out is that Microsoft has a payment plan option now, which is amazing. I mean, I don't know. I have a thing against payment plans, but if I couldn't afford the $500 and really wanted it, their payment plan of $35 or $34.99 or whatever it is for 2 years is a great plan. It comes with Game Pass. I think it's Game Pass Ultimate that comes with that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a $15 deal on its own. And so you're basically paying $20 a month for the console, which if you add it up to 24 months is cheaper than $500. And the same thing goes with the Series S. It's $24.99, so $25 with Game Pass. So technically you're paying $10 a month for that console over 24 months. It's still cheaper than the console cost buying it outright. I don't know how Microsoft's making any money by giving this away, basically taking a hit of $50 on each console. And, because they're making their money on Game Pass, but still, it's a really great deal for anybody that can't afford to buy the console outright. if I was in that boat where I couldn't buy it outright, I would definitely do the subscription plan because Game Pass is worth it to me. I've been an avid subscriber for at least over a year now. When they first started, I would buy in and buy out. When Game Pass first came in, I would go in for a month or two and play what they had, and then they wouldn't have anything, so I'd pull out for a month or two and then come back. So I did that a lot. But I think honestly, I've been subscribed for over a full year now, continuously without canceling my subscription. So definitely would be something I would stick with, especially because all the first parties are coming there now. And then the other news that was announced was that we're going to get the EA games getting added to that list sometime this year. What is the EA? I can't remember what EA subscription plan is, but that's coming to Xbox Game Pass.
EA
Who would have
Access.
thought? There you go, EA Access. Who would have thought Microsoft would get EA Access games brought into there? I mean, we all harp on EA for their money grab, but I don't know what kind of money deal they got here, but for Microsoft to be able to pull their games in, something had to have been done. Somebody's got pictures of somebody they shouldn't have.
Oh yeah. Somebody's got the blackmail going on.
Right.
Does anybody know? I was just wondering about the Xbox One S, the second iteration that came out. It still didn't do 4K games, but it did allow for 4K streaming and it had a 4K player in it. Now, does the Series S, does anybody know if that will allow you to stream in 4K? I have not seen anything on that.
Well, obviously, there's no player built into it, so you're not going to watch videos.
Obviously, yes.
I actually didn't think to even look at that because I don't know about you guys, but I don't stream a lot of content from my Xbox to my TVs and stuff. So I actually haven't even thought to think about that, if it will do that. That's an interesting question. If I can watch my Netflix and stream 4K on that device, I would imagine so. The technology was there for the S, the Xbox One S. what a cluster, right? One S or Series S. So the One S would stream it in 4K, but I'm not too sure. That's a good question that we'd have to look into. So I imagine it should. If the One S did it, the One X should do it because the One S did it. The Series S should do it. Stumbling all over everything.
Now, I did just find here that the Series S will upscale to 4K. So it'd be like the PS5, saying it was 4K, but it upscaled to 4K. So it will upscale. So I'm guessing they're going to have graphic settings, quantity, quality, like they do now on the regular X. You can tweak performance for graphic fidelity.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I imagine it should. If the old one did it, I mean, we're got a lot higher graphics fidelity and power behind it than we had on the One S. So if it doesn't, that's a oversight in my opinion by Microsoft. But like I said, I don't stream from my devices very often. I actually, I have a 4K TV and I usually stream the Netflix and stuff like that and Google Play videos through the built-in apps on the TV.
The Series X will be a 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, up to 120 frames per second. So it will have that 4K. So it'll be good there. The Series S is going to be 1440p at 60 FPS. So yeah, I mean Patrick's pretty much dead on that.
Right.
Now, for the most important question about the Series S reveal, what do you all think about the look? Because it is definitely not what I would have anticipated, considering the shoebox or mini fridge or whatever you want to call it for the Series X. I was caught off guard definitely by the appearance. I thought it was BS when I first saw it, but nope, it looks like a domino.
Well, I actually want to order a Big Mac and large fries off of it. That's what I want to
do. that placement of vents or whatever, that placement of that vent is kind of weird. It does look like a domino. I can't remember the animation that I remember back in the day. It was like the little character in the black circle. I can't remember what it is, but it kind of reminds me of that. I was looking up the name earlier and couldn't just remember it, but it looks weird to me. It looks like a bookend speaker almost.
Yep.
So
yeah,
but I
definitely.
had to do something for airflow. So.
But I think they could have picked a different color, or even did that green that they've done on the X. I'm surprised they didn't throw that into the S as well. At least then you have a variation.
Well, they didn't do anything outside of black and white on the Xbox One S, did they? It's all white, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just all white, pure white.
I mean,
Except
so
for
the
the speaker
Series S
part.
did this. Yeah, exactly. The Series S
Or
and
the
the One
vent.
S did the same thing, right? I mean, the One S is all white.
Except for the big giant speaker on top. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the One S. The
The One S. See, this is where we're going to
No,
have issues.
the One S did all white, and
Yeah,
then
it was
the
pure white.
Xbox One X was all black.
Right, and
So
that's
they
kind of
went
what
with the same
do.
color scheme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for they have that vent at the top of the the Xbox Series S that is black for that vent.
That's so they can watch.
I don't. Right. I mean, on its standing up, it does look like a speaker or some sort of like Bluetooth speaker or something like that. But on its side, it's not too bad. And,
It looks like a hot plate when you set it on its side. You're cooking
Right.
boiling water on it.
I don't know if they did the green gradient. I didn't see that because on the Xbox Series X, is supposedly that green kind of sheen that you see, when it's viewed at an angle. It's just the venting. From my understanding, is painted green at the bottom. So when you look at it at an angle, you see that green come through. So it's not lit up, which we first thought initially, seeing the Xbox Series X, we thought it was lit up green like LEDs, but it's actually not. It's just a gradient there that this is green on the bottom. So when you look at it at an angle, you can see that kind of green pop through. And I don't know if they did the same thing with this Series S. It doesn't look like it from all the pictures and angles that I've seen from it. So yeah, it's a weird color combination. I don't know. I mean, I kind of think about like, well, why didn't they just go all white with it? But then it's like all white with a vent. I think would have looked weird too. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't get. I think they need to do more with their colors. I mean, we all know Xbox is green, and it seems like every console gets further and further away from that green that we know. And it's like, I don't know if they're afraid that people are going to just basically antiquate it with money. They're basically going to correlate it with money or something. I don't know. But the big Xbox with the big old school Xbox, the big green X's and stuff, and now we got a refrigerator and a hot plate. So I love Microsoft products, but I'm sorry, but we were getting a refrigerator and a hot plate. So it looks like a weird domino. It is super tiny, and then the other one looks like a refrigerator.
With all the new consoles, we're getting just household accessories. With the Xbox Series X, we're getting a fridge, and we're getting a Bluetooth speaker, and then with the PlayStation 5, we're getting a router. So the Nintendo needs to come out with a new Switch that belongs in the house. Something like I don't know.
Switch toaster, because it'll
Keurig
pop a little
toaster.
handheld
There you
console out
go.
for you.
Keurig coffee pot.
They go back to cartridges. I mean, they do still use cartridges. They use little SD cartridges. And then to get it out, you just push the little handle up, and it pops out the top.
Yeah, pops out like a piece of toast. You got to catch it. Yeah, might miss it. But yeah, it's a weird design for me. I mean, we got a brick. The Xbox Series X looks like a giant brick or a refrigerator. It's just rectangle block. I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a huge fan of the design of it. I think it's plain. It looks plain. It looks boring. The PlayStation looks exciting. Looks a little cool. Looks a little artsy. So I will say that I think that this PlayStation console looks better than the Xbox consoles, both of them. But outside of the look, the Xbox has my money. So I'm getting that one. I will get a PlayStation, but it'll be down the road ways. And as soon as they tell us some more information, they keep saying, we had the only pre-order for a PlayStation was you had to go to their website and put in your gamer tag for a chance to be one of the people that gets to pre-order it. Other than that, we don't know when it's coming out, what the price point is. None of that. I really thought PlayStation would have put something out right after Microsoft did this week. Even considering that today? I think today is their North American, 9/10. September 10th 25th. Is their 25th North American birthday. That's their North American audience release date. So I really thought they'd put something out there with that, but nothing. Radio silence today. They'll do it tomorrow just to throw everybody off.
I was really surprised that they didn't have any. I mean, they didn't have anything today.
I checked their websites, everything. Yeah. It's basically bland.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even have like a thing like saying, today is our 25th anniversary. Like, I didn't even see that, which was really surprising. I was expecting to see that, if not a release date and a price, but at least something talking about their anniversary.
Right, yeah. But, since they didn't deliver us any news, we don't have much to say about them right now. Unfortunately, I would hope to have a little podcast where we talk about both of them and their release dates and all the good news and the giddiness of consoles for both PlayStation people and Xbox people, or both, But so this is going to be all about Xbox. They're getting my money right now, and I'll be pre-ordering, and then hopefully I can wait in line with my friends to pick one up at a midnight release.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I'm still kind of waiting for, I'm more on the high end of doubtful now, is a discless version of X. Sony's doing it. I'd be really surprised if Microsoft didn't do it, but there's also a 3 SKU thing, and that would probably get even more confusing. But for the right price drop, I would take a discless version.
It had to be like $100 in my opinion, because the 4K ultra high definition Blu-ray player is worth it in my money. So it needs to be $100 cheaper before I would consider that. But what are they going to call it? The Xbox Series X minus X?
X hashtag underscore squared pi. I don't know. It's getting ridiculous though.
Yeah, it'll be the Xbox Series X minus D.
Well, the Xbox Series S doesn't have a disk drive.
Right, but what he's saying is that
if they had a Series X version without.
Got to learn to enunciate now. We got to talk about X or S.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So yeah, PlayStation's. We don't know the specs of their digital. I don't think they released the specs of their. I don't think they released the full specs. Regardless, I don't think they released the full specs of their all digital PlayStation 5 version. I would assume, because they're very similar in design except for the disk drive missing, I would assume they are exactly the same box except for one has a disk drive and one does not. You kind of wonder, especially with price, like how much price does that really knock off of a PlayStation 5 all digital, right? I mean, because a disk drive is not, even a 4K Blu-ray disk drive is not that expensive, right?
I mean, you're still looking at $100 on most things. If you're going to go buy an Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray player, you're still looking at a minimum of $100, even for a knockoff no-name brand.
Right, but still, they got to make their profit too. So they're going to take the full 100 off, or they're going to take 50 off, kind of like Xbox did with the SAD edition, right? Which, right. That whole thing was just sad in general, because it was like, what, $50 cheaper than an S, and sometimes more expensive than an S that came with a disk drive, because the S was on sale for so many times with so many promotions and stuff. It wasn't even worth buying one. But, yeah, I'm surprised Sony hasn't come out with anything, especially, usually when one console says, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how much we're costing, and this is when we're coming out, the next consoles usually follow suit pretty close behind. And it's kind of weird that right now Sony especially is, for the last few months, especially since their last state of play, has been just super quiet. They really haven't put anything out.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, backing kind of Patrick and backing, but yet also kind of disagreeing. For me, when I got the Xbox One X, it was a media device for me. So that was the most exciting thing for me, in the fact that I do stream a lot. I don't do cable. I don't do those things. So my Xbox will be my everything. So, that's a big selling point for me when it comes to Xbox versus PlayStation. With the Xbox One, Xbox really upped their game on the UI and the streaming capabilities, the Blu-ray player. All those things are why I'll be going definitely Xbox first, no matter what comes out. Whether it be the PS5 or the Xbox X series. It doesn't matter. That's a big selling point. So having that disc in there, having that Blu-ray player in there is definitely a selling point for me.
Yeah, I would agree with Russ on that, because my other two Xboxes, the original and the S, those are hooked to my other TVs. One's 4K, one's generic. But I stream with those two Xboxes, definitely, through the living room or the bedroom. The one in here in the game room, I don't need it because, I have the better TV in here than I do at the rest of the house. So I use my other Xboxes to do all of my media stuff, just like Russ was saying. So, that's just his or her opinion thing. So however you choose to use it or not use it. But that's what put a big hurt on the Xbox One was all the media crap that they talked about before launch. You can do this, you can do that. Can I play a game? That's all I really want to know.
Well, I mean, Xbox used to be a media center, in my opinion, until this last version. I remember with the Kinect on the previous version, where you could control the like Netflix menus by waving your hand, and it'll scroll through the menus or scroll up and down, and then as like Google Home Assistant and Alexa are getting more popular, functions like that are kind of worthless because in all honesty, I could tell Google to launch Netflix on my TV and start playing a show. About the only thing that it really can't do is scroll for me. So, but if I know exactly what I want to play, I can tell it to play, and it'll launch whatever I connect it to it. And I'll be honest, I have my Google Home linked to my Xbox, so it can turn my Xbox on and off, which I have CEC AnyNet enabled on my Xbox, so it can turn on my TV and turn off my TV. So if I tell Google to turn off the Xbox, it'll turn off the TV, or if I tell it to turn on the Xbox, it turns on the TV. So all I got to do is sit down and be lazy and tell Google turn on my Xbox, and it turns everything on for me, So, I mean, it's become less of a media center for me, and it mostly games. I don't use it to play anything, and that's probably a little bit of a downfall on Microsoft's side because I don't buy movies or shows from Xbox through the store because I can only play it on the Xbox, and I have my Xbox down in the basement on my TV down there. And when I want to watch stuff upstairs, I can't because I need an app, or I have to sign into a website instead of having an app. Is what I mean. They need to have an app that I can install on my TV to where I can watch it in any room of the house, and so I buy most of the movies from Google Play and stuff like that.
Your Xbox movies will play through Movies Anywhere, as long as it's a Movies Anywhere supported company or title.
And I don't want to look for that. I just want to have one single location that I can play my movies from anywhere. So that's kind of why I use Google Home. So I don't have to say, is this an Anywhere movie? No, it's not. So maybe I don't buy it here. I just buy everything on Google Plus because then I can watch those through any device I want.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using my Google Plus a lot since I've been doing their trivia stuff or quiz stuff every day, so I can earn those points, and I get me a free movie every week, so it works for me.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of how I do. I buy most of my movies through that. Just because of that Xbox, I can't. If I don't have an Xbox on every TV, then I'm not going to be able to stream all the movies that I buy on whatever TV I feel like watching at the time. So I just use a Google Play account, and I buy all my movies through there instead of the Xbox store. So if Xbox did something similar, they do tend to have a really good sales on movies and television shows because I'm a big anime fan. So that's something they can do. But outside of that, the Xbox is, for me, it's a gaming station. I don't do streaming media on it. So that, to me, that's not as big of importance. And the physical disc drive is not that big of an importance to me neither. Even though I say it'll take $100, it's just because I want $100 off the price for me to buy one without a disc, because I can't remember the last time I fed a disc into my Xbox, to be honest with you. It's a waste of a disc, but to me, it's a principle that matter. If I'm going to get one without a disc, it better be $100 cheaper.
Yeah, if I put a disc in mine, it's probably because I found a really good deal on a 4K movie or something on disc. Hey, that's $8. I'll take it. That's about the only time.
Yeah, because Pizza Hut and those guys are no longer doing game CDs when you order a pizza.
Yep. Let me ask you this. Now that basically Microsoft has showed their hand, they've come out of the chute, all barrels firing. When do you think Sony is going to do their reveal? I say they do something by this time next week, if not even sooner.
I guess I'll just jump in because I honestly think that Sony's in trouble. I don't think Sony wants to admit it, but they've got some type of distribution issue or something right now. The whole thing that has me a little bit worried is that you have to go on their website and sign up with your PlayStation ID for a chance to get to pre-order the console. I honestly think they didn't make an announcement this week is because they have some major chain disruption or a supply chain disruption, or they have an issue that they haven't overcome yet. I hope I am wrong. But I think that by them being silent and quiet, they either have a huge announcement thing planned and they don't want to move it because it was just such a production, or they've got some type of supply chain issue or distribution issue that they haven't been able to overcome yet. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think the same thing. Like I said, I'm really surprised that they didn't come out with something for their 25th anniversary or say something. And like I said, usually when a console comes out and says, "Hey, this is what we're doing and this is the price of things and a release date," the other manufacturers usually close to follow because they want to keep up with that news feed, right? Or take it over around the same time. So the fact that they've been radio silent this entire time, I would assume that and like you said, with the whole having to register thing, you mean, when has a manufacturer ever had to do something like that or has ever done anything like that? I don't think I've ever seen a manufacturer say, "Hey, you need to log in here and for a chance to possibly pre-order our product." That typically doesn't happen. They just say, "This is what we're releasing," you go and get it. So either they're going to have, they do have a manufacturing problem and they have limited supply, or, maybe because of their, it could be possibly that their console is a lot more expensive than the X. I hope not. I really do, because I want to get a PlayStation 5 as well. I'm along with you, Patrick. The Xbox Series X is the first thing I want to get, but I do want to get a PlayStation 5 down the road because there are games I want to play on there. I do want to get one, and I don't want to spend $600 or $700 on one. I want it to be around the same price as the X, so that way I can just be like, okay, start saving up for that and start getting a PlayStation 5. So I'm right now I really want to hear something from Sony. I want to see what they're doing or when they're going to release their console or how much it's going to cost or anything from them, because they have been silent for, it seems like, too long. Xbox, almost every day Xbox is saying something on there, or there's news on gaming websites about the Xbox and about the new consoles and stuff. Xbox just sent, I think it was IGN, some mock-up consoles of the X and the S. They didn't have all the components inside, but they were basically the boxes so they could take pictures of like the size comparisons and things. And, besides the screenshots and the kind of what they showed in that state of play, what they showed the PlayStation 5, we haven't seen the actual model on display. Right, we saw that visual cue of like a picture or a screenshot or whatever, like, oh, here it is. But have we seen one behind a display box or anything? I don't think we have. Right. So that makes me worried.
Yeah, and I like the little mock-up that they gave IGN. Because IGN was basically stacking that Series S up against everything. They were putting it on top of an Xbox One X and on top of a PlayStation. And I'm just like, it reminded me of the old commercial. I think I made mention of it when I was a kid on the back of a magazine where they were throwing a Sega into a Sega CD tray and then throwing a 32X on top of it. And the little kid's like, "Mommy, what are those consoles doing?" It kind of reminded me of what they were doing. They were just stacking these consoles, and I'm like, stop making console porn. Come on, guys.
What about you, Russ?
For you guys, I mean, I get that the frustration with the PlayStation 5 release date. I understand that. But for me personally, PlayStation has always, in the last two console wars, PlayStation was always the second console I got anyway. So, even if I'm having to wait an extra month or something like that to hear something, it's not going to affect me that much. Would I like to see these new games on the new PS5? Of course I do, but it will come in time, and so I'm not quite as I wouldn't say worked up. I'm not saying anybody's really worked up. It's just it is different from what we've gotten in the past, and so it's like it is kind of concerning. Like, do they have these issues? Do they have these manufacturing issues or these distribution issues? They've always been fighting against each other. Is this kind of another nail in that coffin, which I doubt very seriously. Sony's been in the game for a long time. They're not going anywhere. It's just maybe this might frustrate a few PlayStation fanatics, but for me, it doesn't affect me. I'm very happy that the Xbox information came out. I like where that price point is. I'm very comfortable with that. Just about as excited as everybody else for the release. And so, I mean, in my world, I'm not very upset at all. I'm quite content. Whenever PlayStation wants to release their stuff, more power to them. I'll get it and I'll play it. But it could be later down the road, and I'll be fine with that.
Let me ask you this then: if you're fine with that, do you believe if Sony's having let's just say it's a distribution issue or production issue, would you prefer Sony wait 4-6 months to to build up a solid stock of systems to put out, or are you okay with them doing this possibly piecemealed launch with just reservations only?
I mean, you guys know I read a lot of books when it comes to product sales, when it comes to like communication. That's really what I want to talk about more, is more communication. Like, I think where PlayStation, where Sony's really failed is communication. I think us as a consumer would be very forgiving if they said, "Hey, look, due to COVID, due to copper mines in wherever, due to whatever the case is, we're going to hold our launch for the next 3 months or whatever, just so that we give you the proper product, so that we can get the product to the masses correctly." If they were more transparent, more vulnerable in a sense, I think that would kind of quell their consumers. The reasons of being quiet, I mean, like Patrick's saying, like, he has to log in for a chance. And I mean, that really affects, I mean, just Patrick just said it himself. It's affecting their consumers' trust within the product. And there's already this war with Xbox. I mean, Xbox, that last GameCon or whatever we saw, or that Xbox show we saw, Xbox is hoarding developer over developer over developer, and they're just building their Game Pass library. I did look at PlayStation Now, and it is the same games on Xbox with only a few extra titles that you see on on PlayStation that really aren't all that great anyway. So they're already behind this curve, and this is just going to be another thing for them that they're going to have to overcome. And we've already seen in this world, in today's world, in this COVID-related world, how companies are being affected by consumer trust issues. JCPenney's, Sears, all these companies, they're not keeping that trust with their consumers. And so this is just that another example of, hey, if they were open and honest, us as consumers might be a little bit more forgiving than what's happening now.
And PlayStation's not going anywhere by any means of the words. I mean, they have a larger lion's share of the market than Xbox does. I mean, we all know that. PlayStation sells more units than Xbox does, but they have a huge fan base. That's just that's just what they have. Their fan base is a lot larger than Xbox. They will sell more consoles. It's what it is. They're not going anywhere soon. It's just kind of rough to see them having this problem when we want to buy one, and you have to wait. So it's more of that than anything. I don't want to see anything happen to them, but they're not going anywhere soon. They outsell Microsoft on consoles by a lot. I don't fear there's going to be anything wrong with them. I just think they need, like you said, they need to be more open with their consumers. They have fans. Their fans are going to understand that they can't release the same time Microsoft does, even if it's by months. Now, if it's a year delay or 8 months or 6 months, I think they're going to have a fight on their hand. But if it's a month or two delay, I don't think that's going to go over too bad. I think it'll go over just fine with their consumers. People will be fine. It'll give us that time to save up to get that one. The only thing that I would worry about is if they're really having this distribution problem, do they really have developer units already in developers' hands? Because if not, then I would worry about delays in the first-party games or the games that I want to see played. I really wanted to see that Horizon and stuff like that. So I don't want to see those get delayed because of it. But what'll happen will happen, regardless of what we feel. But PlayStation will be just fine. It's just they'll be second in the market instead of first.
I agree with Russell in the fact that if they came out and said, "Hey, we have a delay," or we're going to have to push back our console for a few months, I think all of us would be like, okay, that's fine. But the fact that they're just radio silent, that's what has me worried, right? I don't care when they come out with it per se. Like Patrick said, if it was a year from now, I'd be like, well, what's going on there? But if they say, hey, because of COVID or whatever, tornadoes or whatever it is, zombie attacks, we have to delay our console for a couple months, and it's we'll give you more details later. Okay, cool. That's where it's at. But right now we're kind of in the dark as to what's going on with Sony. We now know, we're kind of in the dark with both console manufacturers. Microsoft was putting out a lot more information and was kind of interacting more with the community in their stuff, and then Sony's been really just kind of silent. They do post some things on Twitter and things like that from time to time again, but it's not really in association with their next console. It's just talking about upcoming games, or just spouting off some sort of like what if type scenarios or something, just some sort of gaming question, and they're not really talking about it. So it's kind of weird to see that radio silence. And as long as they were to come out and say, hey, this is when we're releasing this, how much it cost, or maybe we got to push it back, I think most of the fans would be okay with that as long as they said something.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I think I would be just fine with them pushing it back 2, 3, even up to 6 months. That's, I'd rather have them give a quality console, a non-bricking console, and a console that's got games for it. Microsoft's biggest issue right now is their launch titles, but they have Game Pass and they have thousands of games that you can play at launch. So that eases up on that a little bit, in my opinion. I just find it the weirdest thing about this entire generation of getting ready to switch over is that you're getting more info from Nintendo about their games than anybody else. And Nintendo is usually the one that you're begging for some information. And Nintendo have been putting stuff out here quite a bit. Every month there's a little something for you. It's not console, but still, Nintendo is giving you more 411 than anybody else. It's really odd.
I'd like to add just one more thing, though. Would I be upset if PS5 had to, delay? Yeah, I would be. It's not really, I want that console too, especially with the holiday season coming up, with the time off that we get, and everything like that. Would it be awesome, during Christmas time frame to get that new Horizon Dawn and have it with the new PS5? Absolutely. But I think more of concentrating on the communication or lack thereof. I know that PlayStation's not going to go down. Hopefully I didn't make that seem like that was happening. It's just a trust in consumerism. It's just a trust in your consumer base that I just feel maybe a little disrespected, in the sense of like, hey, I've been a fan of yours. I've been a consumer of yours. Give me the benefit of the doubt and let me make the decision on whether or not this is going to frustrate me or not by giving me the information.
No, I completely agree. If you think about it, that's one of the big downfalls of the Xbox One. 360 was riding high. Xbox One, when they started talking about it, there was a lot of issues between the high ups and the consumers. Basically, Microsoft said, yeah, they'll pay for it. They'll take what we give them. This is what this is now. They didn't put the consumer thought into it. And that's what really hurt Microsoft. I cannot see Sony making that mistake, even with distribution issues or even a system issue that they haven't quite nailed down yet. So I don't see that Sony would make that mistake, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's just interesting how things are playing out. Especially with both consoles. A thing to kind of remember is that today is September the 10th. The console comes out in 2 months. We just heard about the cost and the pre-order date less than 3 days ago. A couple days ago. And so it's a weird market not even market, but it's a weird position we're in, because if PlayStation is going to come out the same time frame, maybe it's later in November than Xbox is. If they're still planning to come out in November, we are less than 90 days away from the end of November. And we're just now getting this news, which is kind of weird and worrisome. You be sure of yourself that on September the 22nd, I am going to be on Best Buy's website hitting the F5 button as fast as I can to see if I can get it, because I'm afraid that there's a limited pre-order amount since we're so late in the game. I'm going to be sitting in there pounding that button, just trying to get in and get my pre-order in, because I am a little worried that we're going to have a limited quantity that Microsoft has not let us know about, or maybe Microsoft didn't plan for. Maybe they only plan to ship, a million units, or we'll just say just an even round number, a million units, and they get a 1.2 million worth of interest. Something stupid. If they get a larger interest than they're worried about, especially if PlayStation comes out in the next week or two before Microsoft's pre-order date hits, and they say, hey, we're going to delay a month or two or three past holiday season, it might drive the Xbox sales up past what Sony or Microsoft was planning. So, it just depends on what Sony is going to do right now. But I believe if they postpone it past holiday season, it's going to drive the Microsoft sales up. So if you plan on wanting to pre-order this, you might just get in there and get in as fast as you can, because I see Microsoft doing wave shipping with their payment plan. They may say, we're going to do a payment plan, but the people who paid outright will get theirs first, and then these will be like wave 2 and wave 3 shipping, that you might have to wait for. Or they may say, hey, we sold out of the Series X, but we have a bunch of Series S. Who wants some S's?
That would drive me up the freaking wall. If that's that would happen. But you're absolutely right. What Sony does next is going to put a big determination on Microsoft's pre-orders. Plain and simple. If they're after Christmas, then guess what? You're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of those S's sold. You're going to see a lot of pro PS5ers like, $300. I'm going to grab this. Throw on some Game Pass. This would be a great little deal till my PlayStation 5 comes out. And, it's just going to make it harder for everybody else to pre-order. But which is also great for Microsoft, because that builds competition. And I want competition. I want them to do their best to earn my money.
But it's going to be an exciting time. One of the good things about this super late announcement is we're all excited about it, and there's not going to be much time for the excitement to die down, because just about the time the excitement dies down, you're going to start counting down the time to where you can go pick up your Xbox, or that it should be in your hands, And then, my first next-gen game is going to be Cyberpunk, whatever's on Game Pass. To be honest, I'm not a big person on Game Pass that looks at, or on the store that looks at, created for or enhanced for Xbox One X. I'm not a big fan. I don't care about that. But, I will. My first actual next gen console buy is going to be Cyberpunk for me. I think that'll be the first thing that I actually play, that I specifically buy for the Series X. Now, if there's something on Game Pass that I can play for free, I will be playing that for free.
Oh, absolutely. The launch is going to be fairly thin for titles, but Cyberpunk is definitely going to be pretty much, I think, in everybody here's first play. So, and plus you got you got the enhancements coming up for Valhalla. You got Witcher 3, which is weird. They're doing enhancements for it. So I think there'll be plenty for everybody at launch. I just don't think it's going to be what everybody wanted.
Yeah, it's not going to be a lot of new games. It's going to be a lot of older titles that are getting remade for the Xbox enhancements. You do have some newer titles that are coming out around the time, or coming out on launch day. The new Tetris Effect Connected is coming out on launch day, which is a really fun Tetris game. It's not really going to show off the power of the X, but it's a fun Tetris game if you like Tetris. And then Yakuza Like a Dragon out on launch day for the Xbox as well as Watch Dogs Legions. I think it's coming out before the launch, but it's going to have a next gen upgrade. Gears Tactics, which is already on Windows PC, is coming out launch day for the Xbox Series X. And then Dirt 5 and Destiny's 2 Beyond Light, and then, like you said, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Dirt 5 and Beyond Light, I think the Beyond Light is coming out at or around the launch of the Series X, and then Dirt 5 comes out on November 6th, which is really close to the launch. So, you're going to have a lot of games that you're going to be able to play on the Xbox Series X, is either enhanced or coming out on launch day, as well as the Game Pass games that they're going to be coming out with. So that'll be nice. And Cyberpunk, of course, which is, like you said, the one thing that we're all looking forward to. Also, for all those Taco Bell lovers out there, you can win an Xbox Series X. They are doing a promotion with Taco Bell, like they've done pretty much for every iteration of an Xbox. So beginning September 24th, anyone who purchases a medium or large drink via the Taco Bell app or in person or receive a code on the cup for a chance to win a Xbox Series X bundle. You can play up 3 times a day, and there's a winner every 15 minutes. What you get is you get the Xbox, if you win, you get the Xbox Series X bundle, which contains the console, a new Xbox wireless controller, and 6 months of membership to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So that's really cool. Really cool program, and a really, cool way to win yourself an Xbox is go up there and get yourself a large drink, or, if you're hungry, get yourself a taco. But also, if you go through the Taco Bell app, beginning on the 13th of this month of September, you'll be able to, if you opt in for the emails, you'll be able to register and gain exclusive access to be included in a daily drawing, and you'll be included in a daily drawing from September 15th to September 21st to also win. So 2 ways to win an Xbox Series X, and hopefully for those of us, I'm sure, that are going to buy it here, that we're all of us, that we're probably going to go to Taco Bell and buy those drinks to hopefully win one.
My toilet is going to hate Taco Bell, my stomach and toilet are going to hate it. It'll be one of those great little farewell tours for the Mexican pizza. Since they're getting rid of that, you can get that all the way until November the 5th. So you get your drink for your chance to win, and a Mexican pizza. So before it's gone. Poor Taco Bell and poor my toilet. I'm going to be hurting for the length of the contest. The last time we did this contest, I think I hit Taco Bell pretty regularly, once a day, if not a couple times a day, to get a free code.
But the good news is my doctor, I paid his kids to go to college through all those Taco Bell boxes. So you're welcome, Doc.
And that's why we brought on the new beef and bean burrito that is Russ.
Right. But luckily this time you don't have to buy any food. It's just a drink. So
but you're going to do it.
Of course.
Who's going to buy just a
Bell.
drink? Come on.
Yeah. I'm going through that drive-through. If I have to sit in that drive-through for a dang drink, I'm throwing in a couple tacos and a bean burrito.
Yep. You got to get that Mexican pizza. Don't forget that. But yeah, that's, we do that contest. None of us have ever won, but it's always, you're going to eat Taco Bell anyway. You just weren't planning on eating it 10 times in a week.
Nope. But I'm training for it. I've been working out. So I think this year I've got this.
Shane's going to win one. Him and his poor kids are going to have so much Taco Bell, they're never going to want to eat Taco Bell again.
Hey, as long as I get to win the Xbox, I'm all good with that.
Yep,
my kids get therapy.
The kids don't get to put in the Taco Bell codes, just Shane. Shane takes their code and enters one every 15 minutes for a chance to win.
Oh, no. Right. They can put in codes because you can only do 3 a day. I have 3 kids and a wife. So that's 12 codes. I've got the math.
But yeah, it's definitely it's an exciting time. That's the benefit of them having a late announcement, is that there's no time for the excitement to die down. So we're all excited to get this, and I really hope that due to COVID, that we can still do midnight releases and hang out with each other in line and wait to pick up our console together, because that's what gaming is. Gaming's all about building memories with friends and just memories in general. We all play it we play it as a release from our day-to-day lives and for enjoyment and entertainment, but a lot of it is just bringing friends together to do things like that. That's what gaming is to me. We play a lot of co-op games because of it. We enjoy talking about games together and playing games together. So this is just more of that for us. And then obviously we won't be buying the PlayStation at release, but we'll be getting that and playing that as too. But I'm just waiting for them to tell me what the cost is going to be to see if I can get it sooner rather than later on a new PlayStation as well. Anybody got anything else? We got some games we talked about. We talked about, the pre-order start September 22nd with the consoles being released simultaneously on November the 10th, right? November the 10th. Yep. Then, so the X and the S will be available at the same date for $500 for the X and $300 for the S, U.S. currency. So, everybody kind of let us know what you're planning on getting, comment on our social media sites. Let us know what you're planning to get. Anybody else got anything they want to add to the conversation?
Bring on the Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, here we come. Get ready. You got 4 guys that are going to be eating there multiple times a day and their families.
Here we come.
Right?
Yep. Taco Bell, you better hear this so we can be your commercial.
That's right.
There you go.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to our podcast about the new Xbox release and the costs. We will catch up with everybody on the next episode.